everybody, and welcome to the 2020 edition of the BFI London Film Festival. We're absolutely thrilled to be screening Spike Lee's brilliant new film, American Utopia, in our programme this year. You are in for a real treat. This film puts you right in the beating heart of David Byrne's Broadway show, American Utopia, and it is an astonishing sonic, visual, and cerebral experience. I'm Sophie Brown. I'm a documentary program advisor for the festival, and it's my utmost honour to have David Byrne here with me to talk about this incredible work of art that you're all about to see. Hi, David. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to talk about your film.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, to start off with, I really love the way that this film has been filmed. It feels like, as a viewer, you're transformed into this atom that's both in the auditorium with the audience, and you're on stage above the show, and you're in the performance itself. It's such a physical experience. It's amazing to have Spike Lee directing. I mean, you're two hugely influential figures in the New York art world. I was wondering if you could talk about how you started collaborating together and how you worked together to create this film.
I crossed paths with Spike many times over the years. We didn't know each other that well, but we had met a few times. So a couple of times where he was doing various documentaries of this, and he'd reach out to me and said, "David, will you come in and say a few words?" And so, yes, we knew one another. So when we were working on this show, which was adapting the show that we'd done as a concert, adapting it for Broadway, which meant changing some of it, I reached out to him and said, "Spike, I think there's some interest in maybe filming this. Do you want to come see it?" So he came to the out-of-town run, which was in Boston. And he came on a Saturday when we did two shows in the same day. And after the second show, he came to my dressing room and said, "I want to do this." And so I was thrilled. Then it was just to work out the schedule and everything. I think he was at that point still wrapping up editing and things on Five Bloods. But yeah, we managed to get that done. He came to lots and lots of shows between then and the filming. So he and his director of photography, Ellen, got to be really familiar with the show. Got to be to the point where they kind of had shots worked out, angles, ways, different approaches for different moments and songs and things that happen in the show ahead of time. It wasn't just, as he has said in an interview, it wasn't just get a bunch of cameras out there and cross your fingers and hope for the best. There was a plan. He had a plan, and yes, and it worked. We did. This is actually a few shows cut together. Of course, that's often the way it is with these kinds of things. For those the audience there hasn't seen it yet, it consists primarily, almost exclusively, as the show as it was. You get to see it in ways that an audience could never see it because of the filming and where the cameras are. But it's essentially the show. There's not you're not cutting away to interviews or flashbacks to my career or any of that kind of stuff. It's you're there.
And it also feels like the show itself is very collaborative, and there's a sense of there's this equal presence that seems like it's key to the onstage dynamic. Like, the choreography is brilliant and playful, but also the musicians are untethered. So I was wondering if you could talk about that, the collaborative process with the other performers and the choice of them being untethered.
As I said, this evolved out of a concert that toured everywhere, including UK. And so the concert had that similar concept. We've managed to figure out how to kind of untether all the band members, which meant that, say, rather than having a drummer on a drum kit stuck on a platform or something like that, we had to have 6 mobile drummers and percussionists. But that meant that we didn't have anything, we didn't have to have a drum kit on stage. We didn't have to have a platform. We didn't have to have all those wires and mics and things in there. They all carried the stuff themselves. Similar to, say, a second line in New Orleans or samba schools in Brazil. And the rest of the musicians likewise, which meant that we could all go wherever we wanted. And I could, after a lot of technical whatever, manage to have a stage that was completely empty, which was a big opportunity for Annie B. Parsons, the choreographer. It also meant, and this is something that became evident as we started to put the show together, that the show was, say, it's more, say, democratic than the normal show like that. Granted, I'm kind of in the front singing a lot of the time, but there's a lot of times where I'll back up. I'll take a back seat, and the percussionist will come forward, or the guitarist and bass player will come forward, or the kind of dancers and singers will come forward, and everybody's moving every which way. So everybody has a turn in the spotlight, and you kind of get to know everybody, and you realize that the only way this can work is if everybody is really in sync with one another. And that if nobody kind of shoves themselves to the fore, if everybody realizes that they have to work together in this thing. So that, in a way, embodies part of the title. It's a kind of hopeful or, presentation in that way. It's kind of showing that, look, people can work together.
Yeah, I think that energy and that synchronicity really comes across perfectly. And also, it has a lot of political punch, the show, and has really interesting ideas about connection, like how we perceive or engage with the world around us. And I was wondering if you could talk about that element of the narrative in the show.
Well, early on, when we were just doing it as a concert, friends told me, and I began to realize that there was a kind of narrative thread in this thing. Not like a narrative like an obvious story, but there is a shape. There's a beginning and a middle and an end, and there's a journey of the character, which I guess would be me, representing more than just myself, I hope, from the beginning to the end, and the person kind of engaging with a community and then engaging with the wider world, kind of civic engagement. The community that gets formed that engages beyond just with themselves. And so there's a lot of parts in the show where we talk about voting, we talk about immigration, we talk about race, but we do it in a way where I think I hope that it's not didactic. We're not kind of giving you a lesson. We're in most cases, and I've learned with a little help, I've learned a lot from a lot of stand-up comedians that in kind of telling these stories and imparting these words, I find that there can be a lot of humor in there as well.
I think there is a lot of humor, and there's also this real powerful, interesting sense of connection that comes out of the material from your latest album, and then songs, Talking Heads classics that you bring together in such a way that kind of brings the songs in dialogue with each other and opens up or creates new meanings. And I think that's a really powerful element. I'm
lucky that I've been doing this long enough that I can sort of cherry pick the songs to fit the kind of story that I want to tell here. There's songs that didn't fit. I mean, I'm kind of well known for a song called Psycho Killer, and that song was not going to be in this show. It'll be obvious why not. But luckily, there's enough other songs that I can use to kind of construct this kind of arc.
Yeah, it feels like with the social order on stage and the words between your music, that you're tapping into an idea of what work needs to be done to achieve a sense of American utopia. So I was wondering what you'd hope people would take away from the experience of watching this.
Well, from what I've heard, from what people have, not very many people have seen the film yet, but they've also seen the show, there's a sense of joy that people take away, and it's kind of an aspirational sense, a kind of hopeful sense that that things are possible, and I think that they believe that things are possible because they've witnessed it. They've seen a little bit of what's possible on stage, and they realize, okay, and this is the old showbiz thing of show don't tell. So we're showing you that things are possible rather than telling you.
Thank you so much, David, for joining us for the BFI London Film Festival and for sharing your brilliant mind and your film. It means so much. Now to American Utopia. Enjoy.
Thank you.